Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open on an alien planet with 3 bounty hunters on the trail of a fugitive. It's a ceiling-dwelling wormosaurus that gets the drop on one, however his partner blows it to smithereens with his phallic-looking extendo blaster. Returning to their spaceship after a successful hunt, the alien UG is a shapeshifter who's taken the appearance of a famous rock star from Earth. His partner Lee has chosen to look like a thumb, while their third companion is a human named Charlie who unfortunately can't shift that shape. He throws their latest kill in the bounty freezer when Xandy from the High Council of Big-Headed Aliens contacts them with a new assignment. He informs them that space gremlins called Krites have laid eggs on Earth and need to be exterminated before they become a problem. Team Ugly depart for Earth, but Charlie doesn't want to return because he was a nobody back home and his only friend was like 13. Ugg assures Charlie that he's one of them now and they would never leave him behind, then flies to his small rural hometown of Grover Bend, where they eventually leave him behind. The place is fastly approaching Easter, so when a couple of bums find the alien eggs in a barn, Wesley just thinks they're decorations. His trespassing buddy Quigley says that he'll pay the kid to steal the batch and bring them back to his cabin. However, when they get there, the old man says that he's broke, so he pays Wes with generic beer labeled beer. He also swings him a stack of nudie magazines, but a Playboy falls off the back of his truck on the way home. Elsewhere, the young Brad is returning to Grover's Bend after he moved away in disgrace 2 years ago. He's known as the boy who cried critter because he told the whole town that aliens were invading, but Team Ugly exterminated them before he could prove it. He's recognized by the reporter Sally, who wants to do a story about the boy, but her editor Mr. Morgan says that's a silly idea. This coming from a man who named his daughter Megan Morgan, so for that rude comment she becomes the boy's much older love interest. Brad is only here for a few days visiting his grandma, who doesn't seem to know about the alien controversy or simply doesn't give a crap. She runs a daycare and takes Meg's little sister Cindy over to old man Quigley's because she heard he had eggs. Instead of going to the supermarket, this woman is buying bootleg chocolates from some creep in a shed for $10 a pop. She only pays him $25 for a whole crate because Granny's a little hustler but thinks they're Easter eggs because somebody forgot her glasses. Cindy takes one of the ticking time bombs home while the rest of the kids are made to paint them for tomorrow's big egg hunt. It turns out that Wesley is Megan's ex-boyfriend, so when Brad sees him harassing her at a diner, he pulls out the Daniel LaRusso playbook. Karate Kid gets thrown out on his behind because he's only like 16, so Megan saves him from a beating because she's old enough to drink at a pub. While getting a lift home, Brad tells the female reporter that she's like Jimmy Olsen with tits, then sits there and thinks about what he just said. He claims that he made the whole story up about the aliens so that Megan doesn't think he's crazy because a lying weirdo is somehow better. During this time, the eggs at old man Quigley's house hatch under the heat of the furnace, and the infant critters that emerge eat his dog. He gets up on a chair to avoid the vicious little space rats, but they chew off his toes and the legs of the chair. Quigley is then nibbled to death by the swarm of Krites, while elsewhere Cindy puts her alien egg beside her bed with a chocolate bunny, but that's how you get ants. When she falls asleep, the baby Krite emerges, however before it can bite Cindy, Dad enters and accidentally steps on what was probably just the cat. The next day, all of the remaining eggs are placed around the church ground except for one that this little turd just tosses out the window. At Easter Mass, Megan's father stares Brad down like he wants to introduce his daughter to smack, but she dated Wesley for Christ's sake. During this, the new sheriff gets roped into playing the Easter Bunny by Grandma, so he goes outside to practice his hops. By now the Krites have begun to hatch and a whole gang find their way into his costume and chew holes through his chest. While the creepy priest is giving a sermon, the sheriff comes crashing through the window, but everyone thinks his brutal mutilation was just a simple farming accident. There isn't even a tractor anywhere around, so Megan comes up to Brad afterwards and says, "Okay, I believe you that this whole town is dumb." They visit the retired sheriff Harvey, who dealt with Krites in a previous life, but upon hearing they're back, he packs up his home and moves.
Go check the yellow pages.
Next they go to Quigley's, but Sally is in hysterics because the critters have eaten her boyfriend, or whoever this old guy was.
I hate teenagers.
Since Brad gets top billing, the grown adults send the child up to the door, where he has Quigley's corpse collapse on him and nightmares for years. Full-grown Krites chase him back to the truck with needles fired from their backs and cannonball attacks powerful enough to dent side panels. One inflates himself on the tire before getting flattened as the trio return to town with the furballs in pursuit. They go to Grandma's, where she finds a Krite in the refrigerator, but she's a vegan, so the joke's on the critter. When they arrive, Brad and Megan help her hold off the feisty Furby while the bounty hunters finally pull up on Earth. They park their spaceship on the edge of town, where Charlie comes across Wesley's Playboy and tells the aliens that it's highly regarded literature on Earth. Lee decides that he wants to take the form of the centerfold, who's so busty that she rips the hunter right out of his clothing. Once the giant staple gets removed, they walk to Grover's Bend, where Brad, Megan and Nana are about to be turned into a 3-course meal. Suddenly the entire front of the house explodes as the hunters have arrived and turn the Krite into a hairy green mess. Brad tells Team Ugly that he's thankful that they finally showed up, then catches up with Charlie, who used to drink for his father. He says that his life has meaning now as a bounty hunter, so Brad's like, cool, now go hunt the Krites that have taken over the diner. I'm not sure where he even goes, but Ugg and Lee walk into a large group of critters eating out the buffet without paying. They're too distracted to notice the alien exterminators taking 10 minutes to prepare their weapons before opening fire. Some notable deaths include a deep-fried Krite and one who has his hair blown off before the rest of him follows. It's a bloody massacre, so the critters flee into the streets and begin attacking random citizens who had time to prepare, but nobody believed their own sheriff. Lee briefly turns into the manager of the diner for no apparent reason and loses her breasts, much to the audience's disappointment. While still dressed in female attire, the leggy nerd goes hunting in one direction while Ugg goes the other, because splitting up is always a good idea. Meanwhile, one tries to get at Morgan in his office, but he just domes it with a trash can and buries it behind some furniture. He's then found by Meg and Brad, who join everyone in gathering at the church to wait it out while the hunters do their thing. Lee comes across a cutout of Freddy Krueger, so he begins to transform, but Charlie holds up the Playboy so we can have the model back instead. Back to her not-so-usual self, Lee tracks a critter into a dead-end alleyway, but these quasi-intelligent fuzzballs have set an ambush. Dozens of them jump her bones, and upon realizing that his partner has been eaten, Ugg gets very depressed and transforms back into a thumb. So depressed, in fact, that he needs to be carried to the church and is of no help when the man guarding the kids is eaten right in front of Cindy. She then gets chased by the hairy tumbleweeds, so Brad needs to save her because all of the adults in this town kinda suck. All except for Harvey, who shows up guns akimbo and wastes about half a dozen critter balls to save Brad and Cindy. They then watch as hundreds of them descend on a paddock of livestock, so Brad comes up with a plan, because again, where are the adults with the ideas?
Now I ain't listening to no undersized kid.
He's going to lure them all to the town's hamburger factory, then blow it up, so Charlie volunteers to help, and also Wesley for some reason.
Really?
His random heroics go unnoticed anyway, because Harv makes the whole town carry explosives from the hardware store over to the meat plant. They pile up all the mince and pickle the explosives, then wait for the always hungry critters to come searching for more food. A posse of townspeople follow them looking like a little militia, so the Krites think, why the burgers, why not just go for the fresh meat? Out of nowhere, a larger one convinces them that cheeseburgers are the better food source, so they all roll right into the trap. It turns out the leader was Ugg, who saved the townspeople with that little transformation, but still is weak from depression or something. They lock all of the critters inside, then just like they planned, the factory explodes, which is also this town's entire livelihood. Megan is about to kiss a 16-year-old boy when a large ball of Krites bursts out of the warehouse, having used the Rat King strategy to survive. As one autonomous unit, they roll over townspeople, leaving nothing but bones while heading straight for the church. Brad gets in Megan's truck and they chase it down Main Street, trying to pit maneuver a giant ball of aliens that are nipping at the passenger. Meg manages to redirect them just before the church, however, flips the truck, so now they're sitting ducks unless they move. The Krites just do a lap, then head back towards the church when Charlie shows up in Ugg's spaceship and flies directly into the threat. He seemingly destroys them all and saves the town, so in honor of his sacrifice, Ugg transforms into Charlie, but it's just kinda creepy. The next morning when Brad is catching a bus home, Ugg even tells them to call him Charlie, so it's awkward when the real Charlie returns. He survived by parachuting from the spaceship just before impact and gets to hug himself goodbye because Ugg will be leaving alone. Another spaceship comes by to collect him, however Harv is also leaving, so he makes Charlie the new sheriff of Grover's Bend. With Grandma breathing down their necks, Megan finally gets to kiss that teenager before he boards the bus. And the movie ends.